It's a strange one for Liam Sheedy and Tipperary. How do you attack the league and championship as champions? It's something that Tipperary haven't done for, what is it, we're coming up on 50 years now, more since Tipperary last retained an All-Ireland title. I love to counter that as a Tipperary person by saying, well, Liam Sheedy's last two seasons were 2010 and 2019, and he won both of those All-Ireland, so he's actually chasing a three in a row this year. But I suppose you can very easily poke holes in that, because this same group of players, they've had, well, there's a core of them, we'll say, the likes of Brendan, Poddy, Bonner Maher, Nolan McGrath, Seamus Callan, who've been there since 2010. They didn't retain in 2011. I never felt that they got to the top form that year, and that started out with a league game in Thurles against Tipperary. And I just kind of felt that the way Kilkenny won, and won not comfortably, but definitely they always had Tipperary at arm's length, it just kind of sent out the wrong signal from the get-go. And here we have now, it's a very similar situation. Tipperary start the league against Limerick, and I think it's important that Tipperary put down a marker here, much like they haven't in the past. As I said, sometimes they coast through the league, performances aren't that great, but I think under Sheedy, just if you go on past performances, they're normally going to rattle into the league. They may not win it, and they've only won it once under him, and that was back in 2008, got to the final in 2009, also under Sheedy. But I definitely think the Tipperary want to hit the ground running. I would be using the main men fairly sparingly in the league. I think if you're going to develop new players coming through, and one that kind of jumps out straight away is Craig Morgan, who'd be from Killerwan. He was the under 20 captain last year for the All-Ireland winning team. He played in the Munster League against Clare, which was the game I got to, and just very, very good. He was on Podge Collins. Very good in the sense that he has great speed, bit of wiriness about him. He was getting out in front, but maybe the ball wasn't sticking, and it was a tough December day in Nina. The field was very soft, so just knowing that a player like that has the speed and eagerness to get out in front, I mean, at times that can be a harum-scarum game, but I liked what I saw. I mean, Jake Morris is obviously going to want to make an impact. Mark Keogh as well, to that same day, set up a great score by on the run. He batted the ball off his foot with his hurley on the run, instead going and set up a point. I think the likes of Paddy Maher, I mean, the main thing is just to have him fresh for the summer. He's played so many games over the last 10 years. It's going to be 31 in February, so there's no point in flogging him. I think Brendan Maher will obviously get a bit of time off because of the extended run with Burris Lee. Seamus Callan, in 2018, he'd only just come back from a back injury, and he was straight away thrown into that Munster Championship, and it was probably an awful lot of games very quickly after being out for so long. Last year he played all of the league, led to him becoming Hurler of the Year, captain of the All-Ireland winning team, and so on. Will he be used throughout the league? He's just turned 31 as well. Nolan McGrath, so many miles on the clock, even though he's only just turned 29, that I'd be happy for him to take a bit of time out during the league. But for Tip, I just think one of the big things is continuing to evolve to a situation where players are comfortable in every position, and I mean that as much in the back line. I think in the forward line that's fairly established over a couple of different seasons in the last number of years. Not every year, because there are times when you can say, right, you know exactly who's going to play where with Tipperary. But I think this past year you see a bit more interchanging in the forwards. Like Callan wasn't always directly on the square. Teams could say, all right, that's where he's going to be. But in the back line, I think in the Munster final 2018, just coming back to Limerick again, Limerick battered Tipperary, but it was just so obvious where the mismatches were going to be for Tipperary that day without naming the names. But I think now, as you got onto the All-Ireland semi-final, you had Barry Heffernan in the team, who you can imagine could play most positions. He's a pretty quick guy, and he's obviously very big, and I mean, obviously it's an old adage in soccer that you'd rather a good big player rather than a good small player, and obviously his size is helpful. So too Seamus Kennedy, speed to burn, very good in 2016, and I could never fully understand him dropping down the pecking order. He's back into it now, so you've got fairly much a team where in the back line most of them can play the majority of positions, not everyone, but there's nice flexibility there, and if you have flexibility and move players around, it means you're less likely to be caught out with mismatches. So I think Tip just need to continue to evolve that. And another thing is, number one, beating Limerick, and start that off in the league and get Limerick used to losing to you again if you can. because Tip starting the year as All-Ireland favourites, I think you just want to ram it into everyone that you're not actually going anywhere. Another thing is, if Tip meet Kilkenny in the league, that you want to beat them too. They're in different divisions, so but it still could happen, because Tip need to get to also keep on top of that rivalry, because you've had situations where Tip won in 2010 and then 11 of the next 12 games or whatever it was, Kilkenny were winning. And I think you want to sort of turn the tide on that, and especially get the younger players used to them. So who else can come through this year from that Tipperary team? Paddy Cadell is another guy who stood out in the Munster Hurling League. As I said, Craig Morgan, Jake Morris, if he could push for a starting position. And then obviously you want the main men who are already there to continue to get better. And Brian Hogan in the goals, if he continues to evolve, I mean, it was his first real season starting, gets an All-Star, but you want him to be able to, I suppose, have the versatility to take possession and carry it out confidently from the back. He showed signs of it, and it probably is there, but the way Owen Murphy can take the ball out, the way Stephen O'Keefe can, Anthony Nash, if that option is there with Brian Hogan, and he gets more and more confident with the ball, and confident in a way that's responsible and uses it very well, that can only help bring Tip on even more. So let me know where you think where Tip are in the pecking order. They're number one as far as the bookies are concerned, but I want to know what you think. Thanks for watching Our Game. Don't forget to like and share the videos, and if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe.